It's time for a look back at our top stories of the week. In the day following the Bourbon Street terror attack, federal investigators uncovered a lot of evidence into how Shamsuddin Jabbar planned and carried out his attack, including new body cam video that showed the Bourbon Street attacker firing at NOPD officers before they shot and killed him, stopping what could have been an even more destructive tragedy. We've examined the evidence ourselves and pieced together a timeline of what we know now. Our Devin Bartolotta has a breakdown of the attack.
It took just 37 seconds for Shamsuddin Jabbar to kill 14 people and change dozens of lives forever. But he had bigger, more horrible plans than being shot and killed by police a few blocks into Bourbon Street. We know this because of the careful planning and movements he made in the hours leading up to 3:17 a.m. on New Year's Day. We've been combing through videos and photos released publicly by the FBI and some you'll see only here on WWL Louisiana. We begin tracking his movements on Halloween 2024.
We start on Bourbon Street at St. Louis on October 31st, 2024. The FBI released this video that Shamsuddin Jabbar recorded on metaglasses riding down the street on a bike. And look here, you can see on EarthCam video uncovered by WWL Louisiana as Jabbar rides right through the live stream at 4:25 p.m. That catches him at the intersection of St. Peter and Bourbon, but he does eventually ride down Royal Street and get to Canal Street at Camp. That's where we see him turn from Canal onto Charter Street, recording on metaglasses as he goes. At 4:54 p.m., he's spotted on security camera in the 900 block of Charters, a pretty full cruise of the quarter, 2 months before the attack.
Jabbar visited again November 10th, though we don't have video of that trip or know what he did while in town. We are able to track many of Jabbar's movements on December 31st in the hours before he drove down Bourbon Street. Around 9 p.m., his rented truck was spotted in Gonzales, Louisiana. An hour later, he was seen taking things in and out of the truck in front of a rented home in St. Roch.
At 12:39 a.m., a Ring doorbell captures the truck used in the attack with coolers in the bed, turning off North Rampart Street onto Governor Nichols. The FBI says he parked nearby, and at 1:12 a.m., he's seen walking toward Bourbon Street. You can see him here in a trench coat walking in the 800 block of Governor Nichols. Jabbar makes his way onto Bourbon Street at 1:48 a.m. That's where he's seen on video rolling one cooler we now know was full of explosives. You can see just how big the crowds were as EarthCam was streaming live on Facebook at that very minute, with Jabbar just a few feet out of frame. And another angle from the FBI at 1:53 a.m. shows him a little closer to St. Peter Street, where the FBI says he left the cooler. He waves and turns around and walks back in the direction of Governor Nichols.
So it's now just before 2 a.m. Jabbar has parked his car somewhere near this intersection, has walked onto Bourbon Street, placed his first bomb, and is now walking back to the area where the truck was parked.
That's where he's seen again, walking down Governor Nichols toward his parked truck. Photos from a different angle released by the FBI show him in more detail. And 4 minutes later, at 2:07, he passes the house again, back in the direction of Bourbon Street, empty-handed. But Jabbar isn't done. At 2:20, he's spotted back on Bourbon with a second cooler. The FBI says he places it at Bourbon and Toulouse. While any photos of Jabbar on the EarthCam site have been taken down, you do see the first cooler in this angle, which is pointed down Bourbon toward Governor Nichols. There are crowds just inches away from the explosives. And we know at some point before the attack, the cooler is rolled almost a full block. You can see it here at Bourbon and Orleans.
No video or photos of Jabbar have been made public that account for the time between 2:20 a.m. and 3:16 a.m.
That's when surveillance video from Canal Street shows his truck headed north, then make a right on Bourbon at exactly 3:17:04 a.m. He tears down Bourbon, passing in front of Crystal at 3:17:13 as people run for their lives. A fraction of a second later, the first call goes into dispatch.
I need EMS at Canal and Bourbon now. Canal and Bourbon now.
And by 3:17:41, just 37 seconds after turning off of Canal, Jabbar had crashed and police had surrounded him, guns drawn. He destroyed and ended lives for 2.5 blocks before it all ended near Conti Street. At this point, the 2 bombs he had placed were at Bourbon and Orleans and Bourbon and Toulouse. Police officers are positioned between those 2 spots, and they're seen on EarthCam running toward the scene, running toward the sound of gunfire. At 3:17:45, NOPD engaged in an 8-second shootout, ending Jabbar's 37-second rampage that he had planned for months to be much worse. Much worse, because as police are clearing Bourbon Street, the first cooler Jabbar left is still at Bourbon in Orleans. In the hours before sunrise, it's moved from the street, but you can see officers then taking a closer look at something on the sidewalk. Then more officers respond, and at 3:44,
2500 to headquarters. Raise me a bomb dog or explosive device dog.
Later, the FBI released a photo of that cooler at this very spot.
High-profile injury attorney Morris Bart brings the first lawsuit regarding the Bourbon Street attack. He is representing 6 victims of the terror attack that happened on New Year's Day. Our Paul Murphy explains.
A large truck and a police unit now block the Canal Street entrance to Bourbon Street. But a lawsuit filed Thursday in New Orleans claims the same entrance was virtually wide open early New Year's morning. That's when 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar drove a truck down the street into revelers in the French Quarter, killing 14 and injuring 30 more.
This case cries out for justice, and we're going to take it on.
New Orleans attorney Morris Bart is representing 6 victims who survived the attack and the family of Brandon Taylor, a West Bank man who died. The lawsuit claims the city was in the process of upgrading security measures at Bourbon and Canal. City security consultant Mott McDonald designed the upgrades. Hard Rock Construction was picked to do the work, which started in November. According to the suit, Mott McDonald specifically instructed the contractor not to impede, block, or interrupt vehicular traffic on the now undefended roadway. Contractors were instructed to leave nothing more than bare asphalt where the new 1-800 bollard products would be installed.
They removed all the bollards in November, but didn't put anything in the interim to provide protection to Bourbon Street, even though they envisioned this exact terrorist scenario.
Bart claims Mott McDonald presented a shockingly similar threat scenario to the city 8 months before the tragedy.
In April 2024, they presented to the city a theoretical terrorist scenario of a Ford F-150 truck going down Canal Street and then turning right onto Bourbon Street, ramming into people.
The lawsuit names the city of New Orleans, Mott McDonald, and Hard Rock Construction as defendants. Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.